I used to shrink myself to be loved. I didn't know I was doing it at the time. I just thought that's what love was.
Compromising. Adapting.
Being better for someone who always looked at me like I was a rough draft of a person, not the final version. His name was Ryan. He was everything I thought I wanted: charming, magnetic, ambitious. He lit up every room he walked into. People naturally gravitated to him, and well, I was always standing just behind him, watching,
Smiling.
agreeing. He made me feel like I was special for a while. He'd call me real, say I wasn't like other girls he dated. I didn't wear too much makeup. I read books. I had this rawness, he said. I clung to that word.
Raw.
I thought it meant honest, valuable. It wasn't long before I started noticing the cracks. Little comments. You'd look amazing if you dressed up more. Why are you always so tired? You should really talk more around my friends. They think you don't like them. They weren't insults, not directly. They were suggestions,
Notes.
ways I could improve. And, of course, I wanted to be better.
For him.
So I straightened my hair, changed how I dressed, said yes to parties when all I wanted was to stay home and listen to music in the dark. I swallowed my anxiety and called it self-growth. He used to say, "Babe, you could be unstoppable if you just pushed yourself more." I started waking up early to write goals I didn't believe in, posted about ambition and hustle and grind mode, even though my heart wasn't in any of it. He didn't love me. He loved the idea of molding someone. We were together for 2 years, and in that time, I became a ghost of who I used to be. I stopped journaling, stopped painting, stopped sitting in silence. My thoughts weren't mine anymore. They were echoes of his expectations. He cheated once. Or maybe twice. I never got the full truth. He said it was because he felt disconnected, that I was too comfortable, that I wasn't growing with him. I almost apologized. I remember the night we broke up. He stood in our kitchen with his arms crossed and said, "I just don't feel challenged by you anymore." As if I was a game he'd finished playing. I didn't scream. I didn't cry in front of him. I nodded, packed a bag, left quietly. I don't think he expected that. For days, I felt nothing. Just a hollow ache, like I'd been emptied out and left on the side of the road. Then the grief hit all at once, sharp and breathless. I grieved for the girl I used to be. The one who laughed too loud and wore mismatched socks and believed love meant safety, not performance. I moved back into the apartment I'd rented before we met. It was tiny, and the walls were thin, and my upstairs neighbor played the same Lana Del Rey song on repeat, but it was mine. For the first time in a long time, I didn't owe anyone an explanation. That first month was ugly. I cried in the shower, ate cereal for dinner, slept with the TV on. I kept hearing his voice in my head, telling me I wasn't enough, that I'd never be enough. But something strange happened in the stillness. I started hearing my own voice again. It was quiet, uncertain, but mine. I started journaling again. Not for Instagram or a vision board, just for me. Messy thoughts, ugly truths,
Rage.
longing,
Grief.
I wrote letters I never sent, to Ryan, to my younger self, to the version of me that stayed too long. I started to understand that healing isn't a straight road. It's a spiral. Sometimes you revisit the same pain, just from a higher place. 3 months in, I signed up for therapy. I told the therapist I didn't even know who I was outside of him. She smiled and said, That's the best place to start. So I started. I bought myself flowers for the first time in years. Sat alone in cafes without pretending to scroll on my phone. I got a cheap gym membership and learned how to lift weights. Not to look hotter, not for revenge, just because I liked how it felt to be strong. One morning, I woke up and realized I hadn't thought about Ryan in days. Not with bitterness. Not with longing. Just nothing. That silence felt louder than any goodbye. And then, completely unexpectedly, I met Lucas. He wasn't flashy or loud. He didn't wear designer clothes or talk about crypto. He was soft-spoken, with a crooked smile and eyes that actually looked at you when you talked. We met at a bookstore. He reached for a poetry book I had just picked up.
We laughed, talked,
Ended up grabbing coffee.
I didn't even wear makeup that day.
He didn't ask me what I did for work right away. He asked me what kind of things made me feel at home. No one had ever asked me that. At first, I was terrified. Not of him, but of letting someone in again. I'd built this new version of myself with trembling hands. What if he broke it? But he didn't. He asked for permission before entering any space in my life. He didn't flinch at my silence. He didn't try to fill it. He read my writing and cried once, over a piece I wrote about becoming someone after being nobody for too long. He said, "You don't even know how powerful you are, do you?" I started to believe him. My freelance work began to take off. I started consulting small brands, launched my own website, and before I knew it, I was running my own business. No bosses. No fake smiles. Just me, creating things I cared about. I bought a car. Signed a lease on a 2-bedroom apartment with an office space. Decorated it exactly how I wanted, warm tones, big windows, a coffee corner. My little sanctuary. And somewhere along the way, I realized something important. I didn't become this version of myself to make Ryan regret leaving me. I didn't do it to make anyone jealous. I did it because I finally knew what it meant to choose myself. Lucas and I, well, we're still taking it slow. He tells me every day that I'm enough, but the truth is, I don't need him to say it, because I already know. A few weeks ago, I bumped into Ryan. It was at a gallery downtown. One of those artsy events with free wine and dim lighting. I hadn't seen him in nearly 2 years. He looked the same, put together, confident, magnetic. But when he saw me, I swear his expression shifted. Just for a second, like he wasn't prepared for who I had become. We talked, briefly. Surface-level things. He asked me what I was doing now, and I told him. I didn't downplay anything. I didn't make it sound smaller to protect his pride. He said, "Wow, you've really changed." I smiled and replied, "No, I just stopped dimming." He looked like he wanted to say something else, but I excused myself before he could. That chapter was over, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't tempted to reread it. The girl I used to be, the one who twisted herself into someone else's shape just to feel loved, she deserved better. And I finally gave her that. There's a picture on my fridge now. It's just me, standing on a beach at sunset, laughing with my arms wide open. I had just closed a big client deal that day. Lucas took the photo. But when I look at it, I don't see him. I see me, the me I fought to become. I don't wake up every day feeling invincible. Some mornings, I still hear the old voices whispering that I'm too much, or not enough, or both at once. But now I know those voices aren't mine. They're echoes from a life I outgrew. And maybe that's the point of it all. Not to become someone else for love, but to become someone who doesn't fear losing it. Because love given freely is never lost. And the most powerful kind of love starts with choosing yourself. So no, I'll never be his girl again. And he'll never get to know this version of me, the one he always claimed he wanted. But I'm not bitter. I'm free. And that's worth more than anything he could have given me. Story 2. I don't know when I started blaming myself. Maybe it was the night I found the text. Maybe it was weeks before, when he started pulling away without explanation. When his kisses got quicker. When his phone started living face down. When he stopped calling me by the little nickname only he used. At first, I thought it was stress.
School. Work.
Life. I told myself we'd get through it. But the signs weren't subtle. I just didn't want to see them. You don't look for red flags when your whole heart is already walking beside them. His name was Tyler. We'd been together 1.5 years. Not the longest, but long enough to think I knew him. Long enough to believe I was safe. He had this friend, Jess. His best friend since middle school. I never liked the way she looked at him. Too soft. Too familiar. But when I'd bring it up, he'd laugh and say, "She's basically like a sister." So I silenced the knot in my stomach. Buried it under logic and trust. I didn't want to be the jealous girlfriend. But trust doesn't protect you from betrayal. It just blinds you long enough for the knife to go in deeper. I found the messages by accident. His laptop was open. He was in the shower. I wasn't snooping, I swear I wasn't. I was looking for a recipe we'd saved. But the conversation was right there. Her name. A heart emoji. Then dozens of texts I wish I could unsee. Some of it was flirty. Some was worse. Too detailed. Too recent. The kind of things you say when the guilt is already gone. When you've done it before. I didn't cry. Not right away. I just sat there, heart pounding, feeling like the ground had shifted under me. My ears were ringing. I wanted to vomit. But mostly I just felt
small.
Smaller than I'd ever felt. He came out of the shower, towel around his waist, humming like nothing was wrong. I looked him dead in the eyes and said, "How long?" The humming stopped. The blood drained from his face. And in that instant, I knew everything I needed to know. He didn't lie. Not really. He just didn't answer. He sat down on the edge of the bed, like his legs couldn't hold him. Ran a hand through his hair. And then the classic line. It didn't mean anything. It's almost funny, the things people say when they've destroyed you. As if minimizing the weight of it will make it hurt less. As if I was supposed to be comforted that it was meaningless, that I was cheated on by someone who didn't even love the person he did it with. Except he did. Maybe not in the way he loved me, but in the way people fall into habits. Jess wasn't just a friend. She was a fallback. A safety net. A secret he thought he could keep. I left his apartment that night without looking back. No screaming. No crying. Just silence. The kind that comes when you realize there's no more fight left in you. The kind that feels like grieving something that's still alive. And after that, the real poison started. Not from him, from me. What if I was too much? Too needy? Too distant? Not interesting enough? Not sexy enough? I picked myself apart piece by piece. Scanned my memories like crime scenes. Tried to find the flaw in me that made it happen. Because when someone breaks your heart, the first thing you want is a reason. Even if the reason destroys you. It wasn't just Jess. That much I found out 2 weeks later. It was some girl from his econ class. Another from Tinder, someone he just talked to but who sent him pictures he didn't delete. There were patterns, pieces of a puzzle I never wanted to see. And then I found the Reddit post. No joke. Someone had posted a throwaway confession in a cheating thread, talking about their serial infidelity and how some people just can't commit to one girl, even if she's amazing. The writing sounded familiar. The phrasing, the specific way he said things. I dug deeper. Cross-referenced usernames. Found his old Spotify playlist linked from that same account. It was him. No doubt. And in one comment he left, I read this. I always end up cheating. Doesn't matter how good she is. It's like, I can't stop. I don't even know what I'm looking for. My stomach dropped. That's when the shame started to melt. Because it wasn't me. It was never me. He cheated on the girl before me. And the one before her. And now me. It wasn't about who I was, it was about who he was. I could have been prettier, smarter, more everything, and it wouldn't have mattered. And that truth, as awful as it was, set me free. After that, I stopped asking, why wasn't I enough? And started asking, why did I think he was? The shift was subtle at first. I didn't become a new person overnight. There were still nights when I'd wake up from dreams where we were still together. Still mornings where I'd reach for my phone, forgetting that we no longer shared good mornings. But slowly, I started rebuilding. I cut my hair, got rid of the clothes I used to wear on our dates. I deleted every message, every photo, even the playlist we made together. And then I did something I hadn't done in months. I went dancing. Not with anyone, just with myself. I went to a club with 2 girlfriends, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I moved without thinking of how I looked. I laughed without checking if someone was watching. I was
Me.
unfiltered, unafraid, and it felt like breathing after being underwater for too long. I started therapy. Not because I was broken, but because I finally wanted to understand why I let someone make me feel like I was. I unpacked things I didn't even realize I carried, abandonment wounds, people-pleasing patterns, a fear of being alone that made me tolerate too little from someone who gave even less. 6 months passed. I didn't date. I didn't even flirt. I just focused on becoming the kind of person I actually liked being. And when I looked in the mirror, I saw someone I was proud of, not for surviving, but for healing without bitterness. One day, Jess texted me. No apology. Just a hey, hope you're okay. I didn't respond. Not because I was angry, but because I didn't need closure from someone who helped tear me down. I had already built something better. Without them. And Tyler? He tried reaching out, of course. They always do. He sent a message that said, I've been thinking about you a lot lately. I know I messed up. I just want to talk. But there was nothing left to say. He had burned the bridge, then stood at the ashes asking if I'd forgotten how to swim. I never replied. Because by then, I had learned the most important thing of all. When someone shows you who they are over and over again, you stop rewriting the story. You close the book. And you walk away. Not to punish them. Not to win. But because you finally understand that your worth was never theirs to measure.
And now?
Now I'm in a place where love doesn't scare me. Where trust isn't something I give blindly. Where I don't confuse chaos for passion or guilt for romance. I'm with someone new. Someone kind.
Consistent. Real.
But even if I wasn't, I'd still be whole. Because healing didn't come from being chosen again. It came from choosing myself, finally, fully, and for good. Why do we so often blame ourselves for what someone else did to us? Have you ever found yourself thinking you weren't enough, when in reality, the problem was never you? Share your story in the comments.